Welcome back, my friends. We are here with the man, the myth, the legendary Andy Shectman for another episode. I hope you guys stick around because this is going to be a good one. So much has happened since our last episode. I'm sure you guys all know what, I mean by that, and we're going to dive into all of this. Hopefully, YouTube doesn't demonetize this channel. If you guys wanted to check out Miles Franklin, which Andy's the CEO of, you can email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. We have tons of deals right now. Britannia's $329 over spot, $50, $250, lots of other stuff. So yeah, Andy, good to see you again. How you doing, man?
Good to see you too, brother. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Lots going on. I wanted to start off this right away with the main topic, obviously, which is the Trump attempted assassination. Where were you when you heard about this? What
I was
did you
watching
think
it
about it?
live. I was
You
watching it
watching it
live.
live?
Yeah.
What did you think happened when you first saw it? Did you think just maybe it was potential gunfire and he just ducked, or what did you
Well, it
think?
was a little confusing at first because watching it live, it didn't really sound like gunfire. It sounded, pop, pop, pop. It didn't sound like you would expect gunfire to sound like. I mean, I have a concealed permit, have for 20 years. I've shot a lot of guns. And I guess when you're listening to it from 100 yards away, that's probably what it sounds like. When you're shooting it up close, it certainly doesn't. So it took a minute for me to figure out what was going on. But, um, I've shot a lot of guns over 20 years, and including AR-15s. And um, I'll tell you that a 120-yard shot with a laser scope on an AR-15 is like a 2-foot putt. He's really lucky that he's alive, but more distressing is the fact that Secret Service would not have put someone on the roof with direct sight line 120 yards away. It's the one spot where someone must be.
You
And
know,
the
they
slanted roof line
yeah.
that came out of the head of the Secret Service is about as pathetic as can be, which really upsets me because it's just like we're supposed to believe that the left just figured out that Biden is slipping mentally, that he's showing or exhibiting signs of senility. They just figured it out at the debate, including Jean-Pierre, his press secretary. She had no idea. It's crazy how this just happened. Well, it's just a bunch of crap. Just like we're not supposed to believe that they didn't understand that was the one spot where you would be completely exposed from a point of, a high point. Um, it's really unbelievable if you ask me. I find it to be as distressing as anything I've seen. Now, here's the that thing. Now, no, can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, so you know that's the one spot you'd want to be protected, right?
Yep.
The one spot, and it's they want us to. I mean, that they must think that everyone in this country is stupid to be able to say, oh well, we put sharpshooters inside the building on ground
Yeah.
level with 5,000 people there. Good luck. You're supposed to
Yeah.
be from an elevated point. Um, I think it's a sad state of affairs, dude. I think it's a sad state of affairs in this country, and a very sad day. In fact, I put it right up there with 9/11. Now, I don't mean to disparage where 3,000 people were killed, but what I'm saying is, what has made this country what it is are things like a fair and equal judicial system, fair elections, legal and orderly immigration. All of these things that made this country what it is are being turned upside down, starting with the nuclear family, and things like saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and everything that was when we were kids is now gone. And this is just a sad indictment, I think, to the system that is very much open to doing whatever it takes to achieve their goals right out in the open, right in front of everyone to see. And if you have the ability to critically think for yourself for a second, you would look at that and say, if my kid were up there speaking and I were in charge of security, do you think I'd leave that one spot open where you could be perched up on an elevated position, a direct line of sight, 120 yards away, which for a trained shooter with an AR-15 and a laser scope or a red dot is literally, I mean, you could put this baseball on top of my head and shoot the damn thing and hit it more often than not, if you're a decent shot. And that's how easy it is to use a gun like that. Um, I don't know. I find
They
it to
knew
be
he
very
was up there. The snipers were watching him. So first there was the officer that climbed on top of the building. The sniper pointed at him, and then the officer let go, fell off the building. Why didn't they have an emergency line to immediately let everyone know so Trump could get off the stage? There was snipers. A guy actually said, "I know the Secret Service guy who shot the shooter. He was told for 3 minutes to not shoot. He's from my town, and we worked together." So they knew. They were watching him. And then I was at the shooting range yesterday. And this guy's a military guy. We were talking for like hours, but he said that shooters aren't allowed, the Secret Service aren't allowed to shoot first. They have to wait for someone to shoot, which I don't know if that's true or not. That's what he said. The whole point, the whole thing is how, and I sent you the video of those people for like 2 minutes saying, "Shooter on the roof, shooter, he's right there." Just a crowd of people. One guy said he alerted law enforcement twice. He walked up, alerted them, saw they didn't do anything, so he walked back a second time to tell them. Like they all knew and saw the guy. Why didn't they at least just get like, okay, whatever. Maybe they're not allowed to shoot first, maybe whatever. But why didn't they get him off the stage since they
Well,
all knew?
supposedly there were Secret Service in the building right underneath him. So why
Yeah,
did
yeah.
they not run up there with guns ablazing?
Like
And it just it reeks of odd. It reeks of them knowing. It reeks of desperation. And how many times have I said on your show in closing, if you think it will be smooth between now and the election, I got a bridge to sell you. I mean, it's not ending. There's going to be more chaos. And the one thing that frightens me more than anything is, their own admission. 20 million people are in here illegally. 1% of 20 million. 1% is 200,000 people. 5% is bigger than any standing military. That's a million people. 1/10 of 1%, 20,000 people. I mean, is that next? God help us if so. But if they are willing to, in broad daylight, in open plain sight, in such an ill-conceived manner, and a ridiculously, grotesquely pathetic response, we didn't want to put snipers on a slanted roof. That's what the head of the Secret Service said. You know what the head of the Secret Service's job was before being the head of the Secret Service? She ran security detail for Jill Biden.
mm,
So, when you put this incestuous uh, cesspool together, you can start to see, and how did we get to the Secret Service? How did the Secret Services, the best and the brightest of this country, allow this shit to happen? I just don't get it.
the lady's position is to try to push a 30% women rate now. It's not about being as efficient as possible. It's working on diversity. I'm not trying to. I hope I don't offend any women watching this, but you see that clip from when he's entering the vehicle, and the one lady can't put her holster in the gun. The other lady's fixing her sunglasses, and the other one, it's only three women surrounding him entering in there. And it looks like a clown show. And I'm not, no disrespect. It's just, that just is very concerning.
Dude,
I mean,
let's
there's
just be
many
honest. Can
clips.
we be honest for a second? You're a
Yeah,
minority. You are a minority, and you are talking about something that a lot of us want to talk about. That is merit-based system thrown out the window based upon lifestyle and gender and whatnot. It's not how hard you work, and you're a testament to success through hard work. No one gave you anything, and you are a testament to what can be achieved. Where 100,000 people listen to what you have to say, not because you're a minority and they're feeling, diversion, equity, inclusion, you know, uh,
right. That's a good
whatever.
point.
They're not doing that out of pity. They're doing it because you work your ass off, and that's the way this country became successful, through hard work and equal opportunity. And when you see that, again, it's very grotesque. These are the things that have infiltrated little by little by little, then all at once. My logarithmic decay statement that I was talking about, little by little, that is what has happened. And now it's just right in your face. And I don't find it to be insulting at all. In fact, I find it to be very illuminating coming from you. You have the right to say that. And I say that with respect to you. It goes to show it doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are, or where you came from. It's how hard did you work, and what are you able to do with your efforts. And I remember having this discussion with my daughter when she was very young, and why do some people have more than others? Everyone should have the same things. No, that's not how it works. Everyone should have the same opportunity. And
Yeah.
what you make of that opportunity is what capitalism and free market enterprise is all about. Doesn't matter where you come from. Ben Carson is a good example of that. On last night on the at the convention, this is a minority who came from nothing, and look what happened to him. And so, look, and I'm the same thing. I'm a minority, and I started from nothing. I started from nothing in a one-room office the size of a closet 34 years ago. No one gave me anything. I worked my ass off to get to where I am. And so I think that this whole ideology of diversity and inclusion is just destroying, in many respects, the whole what made this country special, and that is giving everyone the same opportunity, no matter where they came from or what they believe in. And that's the way it should be, as far as I'm concerned.
You said a word earlier. You said this incestuous cesspool. Like that really does explain so much of what's happening. Staying on the topic of Trump, though, what do you think about JD Vance? What do you think about his pick?
I like him. I mean, this is a guy that had a rough upbringing. More or less, his mother was married several times. I don't know to what degree he even knew his father. Ended up living with his grandparents, took their last name. Member of the Marines, went to law school. At Yale, met his wife, who is Indian, um, from the country of India, at Yale Law School. Not part of the cesspool, not part of the establishment, which is one reason I like him. I like him a lot, actually. He's young. He's an embodiment of the American dream. Here again, this is a dude, no one gave him anything. He had a very rough upbringing, made the best of his life, gave back to the country, went to the military, highly educated, got a law degree from Yale. And so um, these are all very positive things. But most importantly, you cannot say that he's part of the swamp. Uh, so I think that's also encouraging. So I like it. I like the choice a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't a diversity pick to like a lot of people were thinking Trump was gonna go with
Kim Scott.
someone black or some
Kim
or yeah
Scott.
or
Yeah.
and I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad that one this dude was a Marine because I feel like we need to focus on our military more, especially
You mean a
I'm
diversity pick like Kamala Worthless Harris, the
right,
borders are?
exactly. And he's
Right.
so young. I love how young JD is, and I see a lot of potential. I'm really glad. I was worried that Trump would. Actually, no, I wasn't. There was a chance, you hear all these mainstream media like maybe he would do this to try to capitalize on more voters or whatever. But I didn't think he would, honestly, after what just happened. So yeah, I'm glad that he picked JD.
Me
So
too.
I know you were just at the Rick Rules symposium. How was that, man? How was that?
I mean, it's always the best show of the year, in my opinion, and right, a close second to the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference, or that would be a close second to this. Um, Mainly because it's in my backyard here in Boca, but flying to Vancouver from Florida is a kind of a pain in the ass. But it's a great show too. It was good. It was not as well attended as I would have liked, but that's again what we've seen in the last 6 months with the outflows out of the ETFs and the soft retail demand. It wasn't as attended as I would have liked, but a lot of great speakers there. Jim Rickards and Bill Bonner and Nomi Prince and some real heavyweights, and it was great. I mean, I always get a lot out of it. Rick has been a very good friend to me and a great person to be associated with. So I would never miss his show. And um, but I think if you want to use it as a gauge of the interest in this country, it was, I thought, nowhere near as well attended as it has been in the years past. That's not a statement on the quality of the show, but rather a statement on how awake the public is, but worthy of going nonetheless.
Keith Newmeyer, actually, man, I love Keith.
I was
You
there. I
should, you
talked
should,
with him quite a bit, actually. He was
yeah.
right next to me. We were
Please,
right next to each other.
please give me an interview with him because,
I can do that, no problem at all. I would
man,
consider a decent friend.
nice. Yeah, because I was covering one of his interviews from there, from Kitco. I like how Keith actually talks about price manipulation
You know
and things
why?
that,
He's a businessman. He actually told me he watches my videos. And so maybe he told me that this week, which kind of blew me away. Maybe he's watching
yeah,
you and I, and that's why you were mentioned. He's a businessman. Everyone else is a geologist in his position. He's run very successful businesses in this industry, so he understands concepts of business
yeah.
and how to do things right rather than just focusing on geologic formations.
Man, yeah, I love that. I love that. And when you'll listen to someone like Phillips Baker speak, which is the CEO of like Hecla Mining, and like his interview, or I guess his speech at the at Silver Institute's Silver's new role in the green economy last year that they pushed on, and how he went in for probably 30 minutes mentioning there's no silver shortage and how we have plenty of silver above ground, but then the second half just goes into all the reasons why we don't have enough silver to go green and how impossible, it's just contradicting, and it would never mention anything about price or what really affects the price. And Keith actually yesterday in a video he mentioned that silver should actually be $70 right now when mentioning like what the adjusted price would be if we lived in like an actual realistic world. He said $70 was his
I
thoughts.
asked him again. I asked him 4 or 5 days ago to his face, is it still coming out of the ground at 7-1? He said, "Oh yeah, absolutely."
Yeah,
So I mean, it's decreasing in nature. And if you use the 40-1 rough ratio of where it's been priced at for the last 100 plus years, right now, 2456 divided by 40 is 61.
yeah,
So,
and that's probably
that
why he got that. Yeah, it makes sense.
it's close, but if you take it by what it's coming out of the ground at, well, that's 350.
Mm,
So, it's one of these deals where silver is wickedly undervalued, and you know there was an interesting chart that I used during my presentation where I wonder if I can share. Let me see. Hang on. First, I gotta find it.
do they live stream your stuff?
No, it's recorded. Yeah, they did live stream it, but you had to be part of the.
Oh, man, I
Are
know,
you
man.
able? Let me see if I can share this. Hold
Yeah,
on.
I could let you share it. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me share. I'll
Multiple.
show you
Okay,
something.
now you can. Yeah, man. If I had like a
You
heads
see
up,
my
I
screen? All right, you
yeah.
see
Well,
that?
it says, hold on. It says you started. Okay, there you go. Yep, I see it.
All right. So what that is, the red is the top four banks on Comex, and the eight or the green are the eight banks. So the green is the combination of red plus four others.
Right. Okay.
So you, in essence, just focus on the green line. The green line are eight bullion banks that are short. This is how short they are. And look at all of these commodities. Look at oil. Look at sugar, soybeans, cotton, copper, and then look at silver. You have eight banks who control the largest short position in the history of the COMEX market in silver. And look at the top four: silver, platinum, gold, palladium. I think it's unbelievable. And then the very next chart, when you talk about the next slide I showed, when you talk about this wicked short position, is this one. Well, look at the silver being drained from the Western vaults. That's the LBMA. So you use this suppression. Our opponents are like China and India. They use that suppression against us to do this. And
Mm.
that's really the point here, is that, that it's being used against us right now. And there is a company, I don't know if you've covered this at all, on COMEX. I mean, on the Shanghai, well, they're on the Shanghai Metals Exchange. And their name is, I don't know if you've covered it all, Shanghai. Have you covered that at all?
Possibly. I don't.
Zhongcai, ZHONGCAI. Over the last month, we have seen large amounts of gold delivered off of COMEX to China. I've talked about that a bit, about how we saw $500 million worth delivered to Brinks Hong Kong, how there is a contract that was created by the CME Group in 2015 that allows for this. Brinks Hong Kong is a COMEX facility that then gets trucked over to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. The kilo bars are what are always delivered off of COMEX, but the funny thing is that the COMEX deals in 100-ounce bars. They have a mini contract that deals in kilo bars.
Oh,
And, so we've been seeing all of these kilo bars being drained, and Zhonghai Futures is standing for delivery on all of this stuff. And there are unconfirmed sources that continue to say, several of them, that gold in China, or is being delivered in China and taken by the bullion banks with COMEX access. And it appears as though JP Morgan is the counterparty, the short to Zhonghai's long. So when Shanghai goes long on COMEX, someone goes short, and that's JP Morgan. Well, the difference is the what is being intimated here is that Shanghai is a proxy for the People's Bank of China. And because as of last week, their futures position showed a total of 31,000 long positions in gold, equal to a margin, just the margin, of 21 billion yuan. This is 31 tons of gold. They also have massive positions in silver, and they have been standing for delivery. So, in other words, JP Morgan is getting clubbed as the price goes higher because they're short on the other side of this. And um, that's how I've been saying we're losing the game. These countries are standing for delivery. We've seen silver also continue its draining process. The first days of the August contract, just a few days ago, in silver off of COMEX, saw 5.71 million ounces delivered just the first day, delivered to a company account known as PTG. No one knows who PTG is. What does that stand for? Don't know. At the same time, we see continued withdrawals on COMEX out of SLV and the other ETFs. Shanghai Gold Exchange published their silver statistics recently, just the other day. Last week, 215,355 kilograms of silver were delivered in one day. That's 7.6 million ounces left the Shanghai Metals Exchange. That is the size of, or the weight of, 108 cars or 60 African elephants, adult African elephants. So we continue to see massive deliveries off of the exchanges. And this is exactly how we are losing the game. They continue to drain the exchanges, the sovereign governments on behalf of, or the governments are doing it through the banks, or these entities, these hedge funds, or these banks that are state owned, or proxies for. And when you realize, have we talked at all? Did I talk with you about the unit and Project Enbridge on this
yeah.
show?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Project
so the
Enbridge,
unit
yeah.
currency, which is going to be backed by gold, and the white paper says the gold will be held within the borders of the countries that possess it. You can see why everyone is repatriating their gold, which is a massive deal, right? I mean, because in the last 2.5 years, you've had Czechoslovakia, South Africa, Cameroon, Algeria, Venezuela, Serbia, France, Turkey, India, Ghana, Poland, Hungary, Belgium, Egypt, Senegal, Romania, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, the Netherlands, Argentina, Slovakia, Austria, Germany, and on and on and on. All of these countries repatriated their gold from the New York Fed and the Bank of England. The Bank of England gives direct access to the LBMA and the New York Fed to the COMEX. The white paper of the unit currency, settlement currency, says that the gold will be 40% and the basket of currency 60%. That is this new unit token. Um, it's redeemable in kilo bars. Why do you think we keep seeing kilo bars drained off the exchanges? Why are all of these central banks repatriating their gold? Why didn't India buy 1.5 times the amount of gold in the first 4 months of this year than they did all of last year and bring it all home? Why did they bring 100 metric tons that they've held at the New York or at the London Metals Exchange or Bank of England since 1991? 100 metric tons. They just brought that home. Why are all of these banks doing that? Because they understand that they don't need access to the LBMA or COMEX anymore. The new settlement currency will be a basket of currencies of the BRICS nations and a basket of commodities. And I did an interview with Vince Lancy yesterday, and Vince is saying, countries like China and India will peg their currency to gold so that it comprises the majority of the currencies within the basket, which gives greater demand and boosts their central bank digital currency. And at the same time, as these countries have been selling bonds, who's been buying our bonds? Well, idiots like the United Kingdom, who's also broke. So you have a broke country buying the bonds of an even broker country who is selling those bonds to the broke country, UK, just to pay interest on the debt they already have out there. And to buy commodities from the BRICS countries. The BRICS countries take those dollars, and instead of putting them back into treasuries, they're buying more gold with it because it will be the peg to a new system of the new BRICS settlement system. And it's traded over Project Enbridge, which is not dollar compatible, which Saudi Arabia just became a full participant in. And I want people to understand that the Bank of International Settlements is behind Enbridge too. And when the Bank of International Settlements told all the central banks in 2017 to bring back their gold, Bundesbank, Hungary, Austria, Turkey, Poland, the Czech National Bank, Dutch National Bank, and then they went on a wicked buying spree in 2018 and 19, and then just miraculously the BIS said gold's now tier one. Well, they're also behind Project Enbridge. And so they've told all these banks, buy the hell out of as much gold as you can and repatriate it, because the unit token that you will make, which will allow you to settle in this new settlement currency traded over Enbridge, which has no dollar capability or compatibility, and so you won't be able to be sanctioned. You'll be able to keep the gold in your own borders, having it independently audited, of course, with very stiff penalties if you deviate from the protocol. But why do you think they're all bringing their gold home? Because they know what is coming. The BIS told them. And the people in the West just are going to get run over by this. So, yeah, this is a big deal, dude. As big as it gets. I think it's just beginning.
Yeah, I'll have to read the white paper for that. And by the way, folks, I know there's probably a lot of people that don't know these terms. A white paper is what explains the crypto or currency or whatever to the fullest degree. Like if you wanted to, like, I used to read white papers on like altcoins or crypto, and it will break down everything from how many are minted to every single little detail. So when he says like reading the white paper, that's like all the meat and potatoes of that project. But real quick, I also, when we were talking on the topic of Keith Neumeyer, and I'm going to revert back to what you just said, he also mentioned that we're going to be 250 million ounces in the red this year, a supply deficit of 250. And in the last 4 years, we've been negative 775 million ounces in the red, just last 4 years alone, which I just want to throw that in there because that was,
and this is another thing. I'll show you two more slides that I used. And I'm going to give credit as you have before. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. This is from John Little, the Pickaxe. This right here, and I Googled it myself. This was a subcommittee on Banking and Currency S.278, October 14th, 1942. It's from the pickaxe. He's a hell of a researcher. Look at what it says here, just up to right here. The present consumption of silver for war purposes is at the rate of about 100 million ounces a year and is growing rapidly. According to the War Production Board, it is only a matter of months before war demands will have increased sufficiently to require at least 200 million ounces a year. That's 1942. And then I say this, do you notice something missing? Well, this is the supply demand numbers from the Silver Institute. Well, let's see. Industrial, 9%. Electrical and electronics, 9%. Photovoltaics, that's solar panels, 20%. Brazing alloys and solders, 3%. Other industrial, 9%. Photography, -3. Jewelry, 4. Well, where the hell is military?
Right.
And we are way more advanced technologically where you would need silver in
Yeah.
all of these high-tech aerospace and weapons, to John's point. Yeah, so Keith is right, and it's actually a
Yeah.
whole hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
And this is why you have 8 banks short the way they are. These 8 Western banks were told, step on the price of silver. We need it to create weapons and for national defense. And this is the whole crux of it. But when no one is standing for delivery, you're able to do that. When India and China and the rest of the countries around the world who understand what's going on with silver are buying it and standing for delivery, you can't hold down the price. It's one of these deals that will very quickly and in a very dirty fashion get out of the way. I mean, get out of control, rather, as far as I'm concerned, for a lot of these big banks who are as stupid as a mud wall trying to control the price in this environment.
Could you send me your slides for the? I would love to make like just a huge video breaking down all of it. I feel like that'd be really fun, like just
Yeah,
for a video
I
idea.
gave 2 presentations, and so I can send them both to you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to go over that in a video. So yeah, but okay, so reverting back to okay, so there's so much to talk about. First, since we're still on this topic, I feel like military was the missing puzzle piece. And John Forrest Little, I feel like did connect the dot. Felt like something wasn't making full sense when I would talk about the silver shortage. It just didn't seem all there. But now military does seem like that was the missing puzzle piece. And you guys can go to silverwars.org, which is his website that breaks down from 1965, I think, all the way to present day of all these different timelines and things that happened throughout the military's use and involvement with silver, if you guys wanted to check that out. But yeah, so Project Enbridge. So you talked about all these different countries. What do you think the purpose of the BRICS meeting in October is? Do you think there's an actual goal or purpose or something they're going to announce?
Well, they'll announce
Or
59 countries came out of the meeting in Novograd saying we're 59 countries we're going to join. We'll see which countries will be added to the fray. I don't know if they're going to announce the unit.
that's what
The
I'm thinking.
the president of the New Development Bank, Delma Rousseff, she used to be the president of Brazil. She said that we have decided to have a meeting in September in China to go over Enbridge, but we've agreed in principle to using it. Maybe they announce that. I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, they have a meeting every year where you are adding in new delegates, new countries, making declarations, and perhaps issuing a new settlement currency publicly, which would be very interesting if that were the case. So we'll see. Um, but for sure, we'll see which countries they are planning on admitting right now. And like I said, 59 more have said we're going to join. So that's I think primary. But if they issue that settlement currency, if they issue the unit publicly, things will get real interesting for the price of gold, for the treasury, and I think it's just beginning with that as well too, because most people have no understanding or inclination as to what the unit is or even what the bricks are.
Right.
Your people do, of course, but
Yeah.
not the people that should know what's going on. That's the public at large.
Yeah, like yeah, even mainstream media, like they'll talk about NATO or maybe I'll hear the G7 once in a blue moon, But like not even Trump, I've never even think I've heard him mention like the BRICS nations or even our debt really, to be honest, because both the only person I've heard cover our debt of 35 trillion has been RFK Jr. He's the only one that I've heard mention, very vocally of how we have to do something different, and he mentions the dollars, decline, yada yada. But yeah, I've never heard anyone mention the BRICS, which I
Well,
feel
no,
like
I
should be the
mean,
most.
yeah, I mean, and how about the $1 trillion in debt that we're accumulating every 100 days, which is $100,000 a second?
That's insane.
100, 200, 300, 400, 500. I mean, on and on and on. That's how much debt we're adding for your children's lives and mine. And um, these are far more important than most of the things that they talk about. Uh, I have heard Trump talk about the fact that we're losing the fight in retaining the world reserve status. So
Mm.
he understands it certainly better than most do, but yeah, that's a big deal, one that has to be addressed pretty quick as
Yeah.
we've lost the hegemony already. Um, we haven't lost the supremacy, but we have definitely lost the hegemony.
Do you think we'll have to have a reset? What's the best case scenario for us to get out of this? Because the dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power. There's nothing that's going to just start pushing it to 97, 95. Now it's going to start magically, it's
The
not
only way they
possible.
get out of it, in my opinion, is to revalue gold.
Yep.
If you supposedly have 8,300 metric tons, put gold at 20,000 bucks an ounce, and now your balance sheet goes from putrid to pristine, just like
Mm.
that. And what is gold held in? The gold revaluation account. That's the name in every central bank on their balance sheet. And what has the head of the Dutch central bank been saying lately? That gold is there, and even though our balance sheet has turned negative, we know that it's there. More or less, he's been intimating all along that we should revalue gold and make our balance sheets whole. And it will, especially if it's going to be pegged to a new system. They'll make it higher, and it's very easy to do. I mean, look, the Chinese are arbitraging all the silver by putting it at $4 higher. What if they put it at $50 higher? We'll buy. Anyone wants to sell us their silver, you know, we will pay $80 an ounce. How fast does $80 an ounce become the real price? It is the real price. It's whatever someone is willing to pay for it.
Yep.
And so I do believe gold will be revalued for that reason. All of the central banks, the Western central banks, you know, um, they're all accumulating massive amounts of debt. All of the central banks across the globe are, but at the same time, many of them are buying gold. So, you accumulate debt, you accumulate gold, you revalue gold, and now your balance sheet is made whole, and it will be part of a new system that will inspire confidence in a system that's lost all trust and confidence in it. I think
Mm.
that's the only way out, to be honest with you, unless they default.
Because that was my second question is how likely do you think they would, revalue gold or push that?
Well,
But
I don't know if they do it first or someone else does. Maybe it's
yeah.
the BRICS who do it.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
but I think ultimately that's where it goes.
Mm. Okay. So another thing that Keith Neumeyer was saying, he said so much in that interview. He said that the opportunity for silver to really, or I guess that spark that could really push silver higher is when big tech, big industry joins in. Because right now, he said that's not existent. When companies like Apple realize that they won't be able to make the newest, latest iPhone, unless they not only can source silver, but get it at any type of reasonable price, like when big industry comes in. I always said by the year 2026, I feel like we'll be deep enough into the silver shortage. By then, silver's natural price or value will be able to or won't be able to be thrown under the rug because of how useful it is, how reliable it is, how reliant these companies are. And I feel like Keith mentioning that is a really good point, because big tech hasn't really entered the market. They don't even know that if they don't get silver now, they're going to be screwed. So, what do you think about that?
I think there will ultimately be a battle between the industrials and the investors. Yeah, absolutely. And when I talk about uh, all of that silver being taken off the COMEX in the first delivery delay, or delivery day in for the August contract last week. Who is that company? No one knows who the hell they are. Could that be an industrial? Absolutely. And I think the industrials would be foolish to not do that, to not realize that they're at a period of time where if they don't start securing their own interest, they're in big trouble. So yeah, I do think that that will happen. And we on the first day you see 5.56 million ounces taken off to this company, this unknown company called PTG. Who are they? I don't know, but yeah, I think it would be foolish for the industrials like Apple, Samsung, Tesla, Sony, any of these and the companies that make solar panels, all of them,
Mm.
they need silver. At what point do they realize delivery is going to be a problem? So maybe they have been slowly draining it. That's why we've seen a lot of the drawdowns. I don't know. But if they don't, they're going to be in trouble at some point as countries like China and Japan, or excuse me, China and India do all they can to drain what is not nailed down.
Yeah, I've always used that saying, producers turn into the consumers and the consumers turn into the producers. Like the people
Yeah,
like you and I that want the silver, we'll be able to sell it to the people that need the silver. We don't need it, but they do, and they'll be willing to pay any price, you know. If they want the newest, latest iPhone to come out, they'll be willing to pay any price because if they don't pay that price, they literally can't make their product. So yeah, that's interesting.
well, that's why
So,
silver is called inelastic. You need just a little bit to make the product, no matter what. And so these companies really don't care how expensive it is per se. I mean, they do, but they don't. They just pass it on to the consumer. But
right.
if you only need an eighth of an ounce of silver in an iPhone, uh, you need silver no matter what. So yeah, I would think
Yeah.
that these companies would be doing all they could to secure that future production. And rumor has it, I heard that Elon Musk was doing that. Now I can't validate it, but I have heard that rumor.
Yeah, I've heard the silver, he bought a silver mine is what I've heard. I've seen it multiple places, but I don't actually know of the mine's name. I've never seen it or anything, but yeah, I should probably look more into that because that is pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, and the new solar panels, they actually
Twice the amount.
require twice the amount because it's on
Yep.
the silver's on the other side, which is a genius idea because if they're in a desert and this it reflects off the sand, so the bottom half of the panel produces just as much energy, which is pretty genius. But that's the thing is to make these gadgets and all these things more efficient, it requires more silver. So their thoughts aren't taking less silver out. If putting more silver in makes it work better, they're going to do that, which
Of
is going to
course.
drain the market even more. So we're in a very interesting situation. So
Of course. Well, the Silver Institute will tell you that solar panels right now take the most silver of any line item of 20%. Again, military's not in there,
yeah,
but
11,000 in
right,
torpedo.
right. So yeah, it's you know, I guess we'll have to see, but I think you're helping so many people. I just hope they understand that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that that will all at once move to a degree that people who have held it for a long time have long expected. I think even they will be shocked by the power of its move because, an asset that has been distorted so tremendously by suppression on COMEX and the LBMA, its real price, no one really knows. So, Keith to say 70, I think might be on the low side, really, to
Mm.
once it really takes off and is allowed to freely trade basis supply demand.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Peter Schiff said 50 is the bottom. That would be the bottom, so which I agree. So anyways, yeah, is there any final thoughts? I know we're getting close to the hour mark. Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
No, that's pretty much it, man. I just think it's time to be a contrarian and stay vigilant.
Yeah.
If nothing that we take away or that I take away from Saturday's event is that this is not over yet,
Yeah.
and they're going to do all they can to to get there to the place they want to be, and they'll stop at nothing. So let's all say a prayer
Yeah.
for President Trump, and let's just hope that it doesn't get any crazier than it is. It's going to.
Yeah.
I really do believe, we just saw the SOFR rate, the standard overnight financing rate, jump to its highest level in history, about 5.5%. And no matter what anyone says to me, the reason they do it is the reason it's got that high is I think banks are trying to load up on cash on hand because I think they are sensing an upcoming problem with liquidity and even bank runs.
Mm,
And I don't think that's, people have kind of forgotten about that. They're going to do something to try to trigger this, trip the system before the election. And so, as the Chinese curse says, may you live in interesting times. I've said this on every show with you and others lately that if you really think it's going to be, you know, mellow leading up to the election, I got a bridge to sell you. It ain't. And it's time to, prepare, not just with precious metals, have some cash on hand, have food and water, get through a few months. Because when these banks collapse, you'll see a massive currency or credit contraction. And as credit contracts, it will affect everything from shipping to grocery store shelves to everything. And you want to be prepared so that you can weather any potential storm. I hate to sound so doom and gloom, but I'm telling you something's coming. And I think it's important to be prepared and hope I'm wrong. And, there is no downside to being prepared right now, only potential upside.
yeah. And if I highly recommend people having a firearm and then, maybe just go to the range just to learn how to comfortably use it and safely. I've been doing that lately,
As
trying
you
to get my
should.
shot better. Yeah.
Well, it's
But
like anything. You hope you never need to use it, but you're
you're
damn
right.
glad you have it if you do.
Yep. And
And
know how to. Yeah.
if things got bad enough, Gerald Celente has a famous statement. He says, "When people lose everything, they lose it." And
That's
you know,
wow.
and what do you have to, if your kid is starving to death, you got nothing. What are you going to do? Do whatever it takes to feed your kid, right? Um, I
Wow.
know a lot of this sounds sensational, but I mean, honestly, I was about as upset as I've ever been since 9/11 watching what happened to President Trump, um, as an indictment of our once really great country, slipping away right out from underneath us by these monsters. And to see the head of the Secret Service say, "Well, we didn't want to put a shooter up on a slanted roof." Look at the roof that the two shooters that they
It's
did have there, where it's the same thing. And
like roofers, man. Roofers are on roofs and they have special shoes for them. Like,
come
come
on,
on.
it's just insane. You're telling me that the wealthiest nation on the planet, at least, well, we like to believe we are. I mean, we're in debt, but a country that has that kind of resources couldn't have seen that coming. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole any more than I already did, but simply to say, this isn't over yet. And I think you need to prepare as such. So don't just buy gold and silver, but have some small bills, have some food and water, have a home protection, know how to use it. Um, Everything from dog food to batteries, and just stock up. You got nothing to lose. And I'm telling you, in my soul, I know something else is coming. 20
Yeah.
million people in here illegally. 5% is a million people. 1%, 20,000 people. Excuse me, 200,000 people. 1/10 of 1%, 20,000 people. A lot of damage can be done.
I have one of these bags. It's like an emergency bag. It has tons of batteries, water, everything, those solar panel chargers, and like anything you could imagine.
Looks a little too light for me, dude. You got to stack that thing
Yeah,
up.
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I have, well, yeah, I mean, I'm getting ready, but yeah, you're right though. And that actually, when you said that, it kind of hit me hard. Like if your daughter is starving or if your kid's starving, you'll go to any lengths. And what was that saying? He who loses it all
He
loses it.
says, when people lose everything, they lose it.
Yeah, man, that's concerning.
I'll
But
I'll reach out to Keith Newmeyer for you and
yeah,
have
man,
him come on your show.
that
I'm
would
sure
be
he'll do that.
awesome.
He's very good that way. And I have to go jump on with
Yeah.
Sarah Westall now, but you're my brother, and I would do anything for you and your listeners. And I appreciate you having me on and our friendship. And
Yeah.
Consider you a good friend, man. And I hope you and your family and everyone else out there stays well. This is the beginning of some very interesting times. That is a Chinese curse,
Yeah.
after all. May you live in interesting times. So
Yeah.
I will look forward to picking up where we left off next week. Consider me there, and I know I'll talk with you before that. But hope you
Yeah.
and everyone else out there stays well.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.